gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 64 of Geeks Who Like Sports. Oh my god, it's the Millennium Falcon! As always, I'm Ray Carcillo in beautiful Los Angeles, California, joined by my best friend in the entire world, Lee Elias, playing with his toys in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Lee, how are you doing today, my friend?
Ray, I love that anybody listening to the podcast, you just start the show, oh my god, it's the Millennium Falcon, with no explanation whatsoever.
Yeah.
So they have no idea if an actual Millennium Falcon is flying around sunny Los Angeles, California today, until you said that you caught me playing with my toys, which just is begging for a Spaceballs reference, but I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. All right. It's
Not
95 degrees here. Not this time. It's 95 degrees here. It's too hot to go outside. Too hot. I can't handle the heat. I'm a cold weather person. My wife is pushing me to go outside, and I'll sit in the shade for a few minutes, maybe with a cold beverage. But I'm an AC guy this time of year. In hibernation, the warrior comes out in the winter. Ray, how are you?
I'm doing well. It's also in the low 90s here in Los Angeles. I, as well, am staying inside. But for a lot of different reasons, of course, not to get too into it, but of course the COVID outbreak out here in California has resurfaced, and it's very rough out here, not going to lie.
Oh, that's still happening? COVID,
yeah, it's still happening.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But yeah, we have a jam-packed show for you guys. We've got a lot of baseball news. We've got some wrestling news. There's talks of some big stuff on the video game front, possibly a new price point for video games in the next generation of consoles. Alien and Predator news. Beavis and Butthead is back. We've got all kinds of stuff to talk about. But first, we are, typically this time of year, we are on the cusp of football season. OTAs are typically starting. We're a few weeks away from the preseason. And it looks like that at the very moment, at least, that football is going to be on track, even though there hasn't been a lot of off-season exercises. But when football starts, there's going to be a couple of things that are going to be different, notably who the starting quarterback is for the New England Patriots. The Patriots signed this week Cam Newton from the Carolina Panthers to a one-year deal, which, first of all, it shouldn't have taken this long for Cam Newton to find a home. You can argue about his durability, but you can't really deny that when he is healthy and when he has good weapons around him, he is a solid quarterback. But the Patriots, as they gain one thing, have also lost another. They were finally facing the penalties for their filming of the Bengals last year. They were docked a third-round pick in next year's draft, as well as, I believe, a $1.1 million. I believe that's there, or at least $1 million for sure. So, Lee, what do you think of all these Patriot moves this week?
Well, I think I'll start off one with Patriots fans. You guys are hilarious because you got a really great quarterback, and all I hear is, miss Brady. I miss Brady. Shut up. That's anybody. Cam Newton's a great quarterback. You're lucky to have him. It makes the Patriots a complete Super Bowl contender again right away.
Yep.
Right away. Sucks for everyone else, just when we thought we were going to get a break. All right? It's also going to prove, and I'm going to make a statement here, it's also going to prove how good of a coach Bill Belichick actually is.
Agreed.
And we'll show that his coaching genius is probably more of the reason the Patriots win a lot of Super Bowls than Tom Brady. That takes nothing away from Tom Brady. He is the greatest quarterback of all time statistically right now in terms of Super Bowl wins. All right, so that's not a knock on Brady. Pats fans, relax. I just happen to believe, as many of you probably do as well, that Belichick is the bigger piece of the puzzle. I'm very interested to see how a new quarterback will do there, which was super convenient, that news, which just seemed to come out of nowhere because the following day they were smacked on the hand, I'll say, with this fine.
Yeah.
The Patriots, known for several scandals with cheating. This one no different. This one was a little bit obvious. I mean, if anybody's following sports, you saw the footage. Look, Pats fans like to say all the teams do it, and you might not be wrong. You got caught doing it, and you got away with murder, in my opinion. Yeah, and this isn't the first time this has happened. So cheating is a habitual thing. I like to believe that Bill Belichick did not know about this. I really like Bill Belichick as a coach in terms of what he's able to do as a coach. A little boring, obviously. Well, we got video cameras on the field, and listen, we got Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. So that's why you won't hear from him. I said, you signed Cam Newton. How do you feel? He's a quarterback. He's going to throw the ball, and we're gonna get touchdowns, and then we'll be on to the next game. What about Tom Brady? Who? So it'll be interesting to see. I don't think that fine is strong enough, but
yeah,
like it's funny. The last time they the last time the league punished them too much, it really pissed off Tom Brady, and they won the Super Bowl. So I don't know. Maybe they're right this time.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, the money is obviously no issue for somebody like Robert Kraft, and obviously, I mean, you do hate losing a draft pick, especially a third-round pick. You still can get real good, solid players in the third round, but all told, I mean, this is another wake-up call, hopefully, for them. I mean, and again, you were recording the Bengals. Like, you really needed to record the Bengals to beat them.
Well, look, it means they were recording everybody. What I don't get is it should have been a first-round pick. All right, like you sat Brady for 3 games without much proof that there was deflated footballs. Number one, you sat the top quarterback in the league for 3 games. That was a statement to me. That was like, wow. I mean, that I didn't even agree with that. Like that was ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Actually, I think it was 4, but
it was a few games. I mean, that could have ruined their season. All right, but it didn't. My point is, like, a third-round pick, I'm not saying they're not important, but, like, a first-round pick, like, that's a statement from the league of, look, you cheated.
Yeah.
You cheated, okay? I don't understand why that's not – I don't know. I don't understand a lot of things the NFL does. I think it's a weak punishment. If it happened to the Eagles, the Giants, I would fully expect to be punished. I would be ashamed of my team that they were cheating like that. I would not defend them.
Yep.
Okay? All right? So – I mean, like, again, a lot of you that know me know that I'm a man of my word with stuff like that. A lot of people will say that till it actually happens, but we've talked about this with other teams and, the Phillies and stuff, and, like, I don't like it. If my team cheats, I might not hate them forever, but it bugs me. It bugs me like hell.
It at least definitely marks the current crop of players.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so it's definitely, no, I agree. It's definitely something to.
And money fines are always funny to me at the professional level. I mean, it's like, what is that going to do?
Yeah.
Like, the league doesn't want to take revenue away. I mean, there's way more, debilitating financial ways you could hurt a team than that. So I don't know. It's just, they're playing it up for the cameras, I guess. I mean, but yeah, nice job trying to fool us all with the Cam Newton signing and then putting that out the next day.
Yes.
What they did was cancel each other out, so no one's talking about either one of them right now, except for Ray and Lee on Geeks Who Like Sports.
Exactly, indeed. And actually, we're going to jump around a little bit. I didn't expect to get to this till later, but you gave me such a perfect segue, Lee. Speaking of ways to financially hurt a team that is better than the fines of a league, the Washington team, the team down in Washington, recently is this is something that's been in the news for a long time, especially in recent years.
The football team in Washington?
The football team in Washington.
Out of D.C., yes.
Yes. Basically because of the way everything going on in the country right now, and smartly so, finally the major sponsors for the team down in Washington has basically threatened that unless they change their mascot, which is currently Redskins, which for those of you who don't know, of course, is a Native American slur, which is why we've been trying to avoid saying it for this conversation. But
I think you can say it in this. People understand where you're coming from.
Right. Yes. But basically, Nike has removed all Washington merchandise from their website. Pepsi has threatened to remove themselves as a sponsor, and FedEx, which is the name of the field, it's FedEx Field. They have the naming rights. Is threatening to take their name away from the current stadium that Washington plays in, unless Washington changes their name. And I think now more than ever, now because of real financial ramifications, you're really seeing Snyder, the worst owner possibly, definitely in football, but possibly I'll put him right below Dolan in terms of sports, but he's finally giving it real consideration, and there were some really great suggestions to change the name to. You can keep the color scheme, but before we get to the new names, Lee, obviously, money talks, BS walks, and I think finally because of the money, Washington's listening.
Yeah, I'll go 2 ways with this. First thing on the money thing. I hear a lot of people say, well, that's the problem. It's money. I don't see it as a problem. I see that as leverage. I think it's a big deal that these major sponsors that have money are using that leverage. I think that's very American and not in a bad way. This is their way of standing up to say we don't agree with this. When it comes to the name Redskins, and again, you open up a Pandora's box with this. It's Redskins, then you have the Cleveland Indians, you have the Cleveland Browns, the Braves. There's a lot of teams.
To be
the
fair,
Cleveland Browns also doing this. Yep, I know.
To be fair, though, the Cleveland Browns were named after their original owner, Paul Brown. That's why they were called
I understand.
The Browns.
I understand. But it's come up in conversation, and they have an internal investigation.
It's not
they're looking at it too
name.
about that. All right, so like the Indians and the Braves and I know the Browns are doing the same process for some reason that
because the Browns is a dumb name.
Yeah, it is. Okay, but here's what I'll say about like the Redskins. The name Redskins, again, as you said, it has a lot of connotations with it. This is where I'm at with all of it. All right, because I am not a big fan of cancel culture as a whole. Mm-hmm. All right, but obviously there are some situations that come up. I was like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. That does kind of need to go. All right, I'm a believer that the Confederate flag doesn't need to be around anymore. I'm a believer that certain aspects of that don't need to be around, and people say, well, you're erasing history. I didn't say we have to take it out of museums. I didn't say we have to stop teaching what it is.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be on flags
flying.
Or stuff.
Exactly, okay? I always use the Nazi flag as an example, all right? We don't need to fly a Nazi flag. I can see it in a museum and learn about it. That's very important.
Yes.
Shouldn't be wiped off the face of the earth. So my attitude with this is I can tell you my thoughts on Redskins and why it is a bad name and why this is long overdue. But I think that who I'd like to hear from, is the Aboriginal people of the United States who live here.
Yeah.
Because, I did hear a really interesting argument one time from a Native American or Aboriginal. I'm sorry, I don't know the proper term that people of that descent like to go by. But they had said that if you take all these names away, Braves, Indians, Redskins, what are you leaving us with? And the attitude was very much, this is actually how people know we exist. Again, I would like to hear from that community. This is very much the same vein as why we need to listen to the African American community and what what they believe. So I would like to hear from that community and what do they think of that name? Are they heavily offended by that name? Yeah. Would you want the name to be changed? And if so, what would you want it to be changed to? I think that it's hypocritical not to do that. A lot of people are discussing this, and don't get me wrong, it's totally cool to suggest new names. There's nothing wrong with that. Mm-hmm. But like, I would like to know what that community feels about these names. I mean, I remember real quick, like Cleveland, right? The Cleveland Indians used to have an incredibly racist logo. There's no other way to look at that.
Chief Walker,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, all right, and that was changed, obviously, rightly so. But if I remember correctly, the Aboriginal community did not want their name changed from Indians because, again, it brings light that these people lived here and live here. Yeah. So again, it's one of those touchy subjects, and I think that if the cancer culture gets their teeth into it, it can go the wrong way very quickly. But that's my statement. I really would like to hear what the Native American community feels and thinks about this, and I would support them.
Yeah.
We're always talking about that. I would support them.
For sure. I mean, there's definitely been two trains of thought, right? There have been Native Americans who have been against, obviously, this name. There have been, like you said, who have been some for. Then there's that middle ground where there are some who are like, well, we'll just name them after, like, a particular tribe, like the Chicago Blackhawks or the Florida Seminoles. Like, they're named after the people of that area.
Vancouver Canucks is another good name. A lot of people don't realize that, but behind that's an Indian name as well. So
right,
yeah, absolutely.
So you kind of bridge that gap there, where it's like yes, you can still use a Native American name, but this is the particular tribe. So whoever was in Atlanta, whoever was in Cleveland 500 years ago, name them after the tribe. But I do want to get into the other recommended names, which I do think is an interesting thing for Washington.
This is just to be fair to you, Ray. This is a totally different conversation, right? When we talk about the name of a team, I don't have a problem separating those two. Like, I don't have a problem discussing what would be a cool name, and should we keep this name? Right. But this is one of those like long overdue. Like, to be fair, from my point of view, it's like.
It's time for a really serious conversation about it. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yes. No, for sure. And definitely.
I mean, the Washington Bullets changed their name.
Yeah.
To the Wizards because it was obvious that was a bad name.
Yeah.
So, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like.
No, it's true. But there have been they've recommended the Washington Warriors.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Which, but I've also the one that I really liked was the Washington Red Tails.
Yes.
Which, for those who don't know, was the nickname of the Tuskegee Airmen from World War II. So not only would you remove what is really a racist name, but then you would put in a name that is honoring people of a different race and a different color and diversity in a way, which I think would be a great thing, and also a thing that would also represent Washington, D.C. well. I think. Plus, it'd be a cool logo. You have the red tail airplanes and everything from World War II, and you could keep the color scheme again because you're already that maroonish color in terms of what Washington wears right now.
Well, I'll tell you that I like the Washington Warriors. If they want to keep the Aboriginal roots here, you could name it the Washington Warriors. I've seen so many logo concepts without the red-skinned Indian that would work.
You go back to the spear helmet they had a few years ago.
Exactly. There's a lot of ways you could do it. But I think it needs to be the DC Defenders. That's a team that would win a lot. That's a team that would be a top team that would change the way fandom is done during the last great era of fans going to games. Beer snake. Anyway, I will say this: the Onion did a really funny story. I think I said it to you, Ray, but the Onion did this great story making fun of Washington because they never changed their name. And it says that the Washington Redskins have decided to change their name to the DC Redskins officially. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
But look, I like the way you put it. This is a conversation. It has to happen. The team is doing the right thing. They have an internal talk going on about it. I expect that the name will be changed actually at this point. I can't imagine them going on in the way the world is right now without seriously reconsidering that. But I would also ask people, again, depending on what side of the issue you're on, that I think it's so important we speak to Native Americans about this, and we never ever do that, and I've always thought that's one of the biggest hypocrisies. That we'll talk about it and we'll talk about the atrocities, but when was the last time you spoke to a Native American, to someone that has that family heritage, and again, I'll be honest with all of you. I've done projects out west with Canadian Aboriginal people, and it really opened my eyes. This is why you travel. This is why you do things, because I would never have known that had I not done that experience. And I don't waste too much time feeling guilty for what I didn't know before. I just take the knowledge that I get, and I realize, okay, I need to change this and this, and I can be a better human being and better person for society. And now that I know this, it just sounds so simple. Anyway, listen. I will say this. I hope the name is changed. I do. All right.
Yes.
But I hope that the Native American heritage is kept intact. That's kind of the direction I hope that they go in. Mm-hmm. As cool as Red Tails of a name is, to be fair, I hope they go that way.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like you said, they'll hopefully talk to and consult the Native American representatives of that area, and
how can you not?
Of the nation still, and come to the right conclusion, whatever. Or at least a better conclusion than where they're at now. And for all the folks who are complaining about, well, what about all my old Washington merchandise? It's like, well.
T-shirt, man. Get over it.
Like it's seriously, it's a T-shirt, it's a blanket. It's like nobody's, and the same thing is honestly, you want to hold on to that stuff? Hold on to that stuff. That's like honestly, that's up to you. But like, just I don't know, get new stuff.
Look, I'm gonna give you another example real quick. I'm sorry for those of you listening. Stay on this with me for one more minute because this is actually something I wanted to bring up. Another controversial name change that is along the same lines. So North Dakota was the Fighting Sioux for a long time. Okay, and North Dakota changed their name to an I can't even remember what their new name is, but it's not Fighting Sioux. It's something like Warriors again or something like that. I should probably look it up real quick. But the UND Fighting Sioux, and they took the name away, and that's when I remember hearing that that was not a negative name to the Sioux people. They really loved that they had it, and to be fair, the fans of UND still call the team the Sioux. Right?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things of like that was a name that probably didn't need to be changed.
Right.
You know, and that was for the wrong reasons. You know, if you're watching this, you see my eyes go around because I'm about to go look up what they're actually called real quick. But like I'm embarrassed. I don't remember. Because it's something very generic.
There's nobody there.
Yeah, it's the Fighting Hawks. So it's the UND Fighting Hawks now. Okay. But their logo is still. I mean, it's still a Sioux Indian. You can see it. But that's the other example I have of like I didn't think that needed to be changed, and I thought it was changed for all the wrong reasons, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't believe Sioux Nation was upset about it. Like, so whose decision was that, and why? I don't know. So anyway, that's just an example.
Well, I mean, that's a deeper discussion to have too. Is that sometimes, goodness knows, sometimes here's the thing, folks. This is a rule that you can't be more offended than the people who supposedly you're supposed to be offending. Like, if the Sioux
can hear that right now.
If the Sioux are okay with the name,
then
just leave it alone. Like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. It's just. Oh, God. I watched a lot of comedy. I'm in a good mood today, folks. I watched a lot of comedy specials yesterday on the 4th of July. And it's Bert Kreischer, the Machine. If you ever had a chance, get a chance, watch his most
Machine.
Yes, he is so good. But his new comedy special, he speaks to this perfectly, and he goes into a situation that had happened to him, and it's like, you can't be more offended. Like, basically what we're calling now a Karen. You can't be more offended than the person who you're trying to stand up for. Like, it just. Anyway, I think like Lee said, you get cancel culture. It's a bit much, and
it's
it
too much.
And
it will always go the wrong direction if you let it fester. And I don't even like calling people Karen. I got a good friend named Karen. I don't like to use that. Yeah,
I know it's I have a friend named Karen too, and it's like, can we call her like Michelle or something? Why are we using Karen?
I don't like any names at all. That's what I would say. You're a human, I'm a human, and I know I raised this on the same page with that too.
Yes,
it's cancel culture. Because here's what's going to happen, and mark my words: is if this continues, they're going to be calling for things like, the Washington Capitals shouldn't be called the Capitals, and the Eagles, what they represent something that offends me. You can go through every team. The Knickerbockers, the Giants aren't actually giant. I mean, I'm 7'3". I don't appreciate that. I could just see where this goes, and it's not a good place. The Rangers are not actually Rangers. Rangers, aye. There's your geek reference.
Yeah, no,
you didn't fight for Zordon. Yeah. No more Rangers.
Oh God, yeah. No, look, we're just saying, folks, use common sense. Use common sense, and unfortunately, it just seems like nowadays there just seems to be
There's no lakes in Los Angeles. Change the name.
Yeah.
Again, another name. I don't know why they didn't change it when the team moved there. No idea.
No, it's true.
No one knows that one.
Again, and we've touched this on before a couple times in the show. For those of you who don't know, the reason why the Los Angeles Lakers are called the Los Angeles Lakers is originally they're from Minnesota, and Minnesota, of course, is the land of 1,000 lakes. That's why they were called the Lakers.
The Utah Jazz playing
We're from New Orleans.
They don't allow music in Utah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Change the name.
Yeah,
change the name, Ray.
Yeah.
I'm offended, for those of you who don't like the country, the 76ers name, it stands for racial oppression. Do you see how quickly this can get out of control?
Yeah.
That's a good one. The Sixers are a team name I could totally see people going after for the wrong reasons.
Oh, right? God. Yeah.
Right?
You could go, we could, this is a fun game.
Columbus Blue Jackets. The Columbus Blue Jackets need to change their name because it's a dumbass name.
It's a terrible name.
It's a horrendous name. You could have been called the Columbus Union, and it would have worked.
Yeah, God.
Seattle Hockey. You're going to screw this up. I already know it. Your name should be the Seattle Grind. It's too clever.
Yes.
It makes too much sense.
Well, that's the problem. It makes too much sense, and most of these owners and bigwigs and CEOs are just they failed upwards. Like so many people in this country.
They're going to name that team the Kraken, and it's going to be great for a year. Then people are going to be like, that's dumb.
And then they're going to try and
release the Kraken. You're going to lose all of your marketing on Pirates of the Caribbean and that other God movie with Liam Neeson, Clash of the Titans. You're going to use it all up in the year, just like the way the New Jersey Devils did. You can only play Running with the Devil so many times. Or, we're the Devils! We're the Devils! You know what? You used it up. The 90s ended. The team sucks now.
Yeah.
You got to pick a good name. The Flyers don't actually fly, Ray.
Yeah.
I could go around. I could pick every team in the country right now if I want to pick them apart.
No, we could pick them apart. Well, the 49ers represent the gold rush, and that meant Chinese oppression and capitalism and evil and blah blah. No, we can go on and on and on. This is. Let's move on. Speaking of capitalism and money, though, we have money being taken away from the Patriots. We have money being taken away from Washington. But some people this week got paid. Lee, specifically, we're recording this on July 5th. For those of you who don't know, last week was Bobby Bonilla Day.
Yay! Free money for doing nothing.
So for those of you who don't know, instead of buying out Bobby Bonilla's contract in the early 2000s for, I think it would have been like $6 or $7 million, something like that, maybe even less, the Mets decided instead to restructure his contract and pay him $1.1 million for the next 30 years. So July 1st, Bobby Bonilla got $1.1 million for doing nothing, despite the fact that he's been retired for, I think, 15 years at this point. So congratulations to Bobby Bonilla, and congratulations to the Mets for continuing to be one of the worst franchises in sports. You morons.
Yeah, it's guaranteed we have listeners who don't even remember him being, playing.
Yeah.
I'm sure that from a financial, team standpoint, this looked like a good idea at the time. Like, oh yeah, this makes sense. It might very well make financial sense when you look at, big time baseball budgets. Mm-hmm. But from a marketing standpoint, you morons, you idiots.
Yeah.
The Mets used to, as a Phillies fan, man, the Mets are not a team I can root for, but they're such an underdog. You're not the Yankees. Your teams tend to make miracles happen. I liked a lot of your players for a while. You guys can't get out of your own way. You just can't. Yeah. By the way, Phillies ranked one of the top 5 teams in baseball fandom today, by the way. Not today, but this week. One of the top 5 teams in the league in terms of popularity somehow. Don't know how that happened, but I'll take it. Also, number 1 all time. Number 1, Ray, a record you don't have as a Yankee fans. More losses than any other team in MLB history. Boom.
Yeah, you guys are the number 1 losers. That is true. You have lost more games in MLB history
Losingest
than anyone else.
And 2 World Series.
Yes. 2
World Series.
2008 and 1980. Yep.
Yes. Yes. Mike Schmidt.
Yep. But yeah, so also guys who got paid this week. Speaking of Bobby Bonilla and that, we also a shout out. So with the prorated salaries of players now if they play a 60-game season, the highest paid player in baseball is not Mike Trout if he decides to play because he's 50-50. It's not Garrett Cole who will play for the Yankees. It will be Prince Fielder, who hasn't played a baseball game in over 2 years because baseball contracts are guaranteed. Now, for those of you who don't know, Prince Fielder, who of course is the son of Cecil Fielder, all-time one of the great Detroit Tigers, had a cup of coffee with the Yankees, but and also a great hitting first baseman in his own right, by the way, with the Brewers and the Rangers.
I mean, also the greatest name in baseball history. Let's just be honest. That guy was born to play. Prince Fielder must be a baseball player.
Yeah, no, he was a good ball player, but he unfortunately had a neck injury a few years ago that has basically shortened his career. But he refuses to retire, and because he refuses to retire smartly, he had the last few years of his contract with the Rangers is all but guaranteed. This is the last year of that contract. Because of that, though, because he's technically not playing because of injury, not a non-COVID related injury, by the way, he is guaranteed all $24 million of his contract that he signed, and therefore, Prince Fielder, who hasn't played a baseball game in over 2 years, is the highest paid player in baseball this year.
Man, baseball's having a year.
Yeah. Oh,
baseball's having a year.
We will get to that in a bit. Yes, indeed, they are. But I thought that was a very fun fact for those of you who didn't know. A couple other things happening. The Field of Dreams game is still going on as of right now. Of course, for those of you who know, before the season, it was supposed to be Yankees versus White Sox. This is, of course, a game that they're playing in a cornfield in the middle of Iowa that they've actually built. They've replaced the Yankees with the Cardinals because of the change in schedule. I think this is a mistake because baseball, because with the change schedule, it should be the White Sox and the Reds, the two teams that were in the 1919 Black Sox scandal. For those of you who don't know, Field of Dreams, Shoeless Joe Jackson, all that. It was too perfect. Again, baseball had too perfect an opportunity to actually promote their history, even though it is a dark part of their history, and to educate people. And so they threw it away, and they did something else. But that game is still going on. The A's, for those of you who don't know, are mailing. They are paying if you want to buy a cardboard cutout of yourself and put it in the stands, because they are still, even though some owners are like, oh, we might have fans by the end of the season. You're not going to have fans by the end of the season. I'm telling you this right now. That's a ridiculous pipe dream. You greedy SOBs. Don't put people in the stands. Do what the A's are doing. For a small fee, have a cardboard cutout of yourself put in the stadium, and if a foul ball or a home run ball hits your cardboard cutout, the A's staff will mail you the baseball. I think this is a brilliant idea. Lee, what are your thoughts? These are some of the smaller baseball stories. What are your thoughts on the Field of Dreams, and what are your thoughts on what Oakland's doing with their fans?
So I can't believe I have to say this, but it's been long enough that I have to tell people that Field of Dreams was a movie from the 90s starring Kevin Costner. Listen, I know most of you know. We do have some... a young Ray Liotta. And also Darth Vader was in the movie. I have to tell you all that. Again, I know most of you know. We do have some younger listeners who we appreciate. We love you very much. And I do realize just from talking to some of you, we do give references sometimes and we don't explain them. So I had to do that. One of the greatest baseball movies, if not the greatest baseball movie of all time. Make sure you see that if you haven't seen it. Look, I'm with you, Ray. I think this is a chance. You said before we were recording, this is a chance to show some baseball history. Almost right a wrong in a way. Yeah. Considering that's what that movie is about. I think that it's also an interesting idea to have this game go on because in 1919 there was another pandemic going on. Which Spanish is very, very interesting, the timing on this. In terms of the cardboard cutouts, I think it's brilliant. I think that's the outside-the-box thinking that I talked about before. I think all teams should be doing something like this. You know, listen, I'm going to get ahead. It says make baseball fun again. Yeah. All right? Please. All right? You know, it really, I like that. I like that. It's fan-centric. Mm-hmm. This season's about the fans. I can't believe that the MLB hasn't done that yet. You know who did that really well? The XFL. They really understood the difference between the game and the fans. Make this about the fans' baseball. As for fans in the stands, I'm not confident we'll have that next season. So it's just I don't know why. You know, I don't like that. I'm not negative. People know I'm an optimist, but I'm also a realist.
Yes.
All right. Like I'm a realist before an optimist. And the thing is, look, we're not going back to the way things were. There might. And this is as far as I go, there might be a situation where you have 5,000 people in a stadium that fits 20,000 with extreme social distancing, but I doubt it. I mean, and like Mark Cuban had said, families, can sit together. But look, here's the deal. Enclosed spaces, not going to happen. That's basketball and hockey and in some baseball and football.
Some domes,
But so I don't know, man. Just day at a time. Let's just get them back up and going first. And we're going to have enough problems with that as we'll get into. Let's just get the sports back going again and enjoy it. Again, I know some of our listeners don't agree with Ray and I that sports should come back, but let's just get it going. We need this right now. It's so obvious. I think once it's back, people will understand why it's so important.
Yeah, no, it's true. And speaking of, like Lee mentioned, speaking of trying to get things back up, there are some difficulties. There have some. It came out that 25 NBA players and 10 NBA staff have contracted COVID. Obviously, those people have all been isolated. They are social distancing. They're under quarantine. And it came out yesterday 30 baseball players have it. Some, like the Yankees, DJ LeMahieu is asymptomatic. The Yankees, Luis Cessa is mild symptoms. And then, unfortunately, there have also been some really serious cases. Freddie Freeman, the all-star first baseman for the Braves, has a very bad case of COVID. And we're all sending our thoughts and prayers to him that he recovers. And then there's other people who are doing things, going above and beyond to try and distance themselves. Buster Posey yesterday, under his catcher's mask, wore a face mask under his a KN95, which was one of the disposable masks that go over your face. It's like just if you're being smart and you understand, like, and by the way, if a baseball player who's actually doing physical activity is still wearing a mask, you can wear a mask when you go grocery shopping. Okay, I just want to put that out there again. Me and Lee are very much proponents. Wear a mask. This isn't a political issue. Wear a mask. It's the science. Like, science and truth and facts still matter. But you're seeing this now, and you're seeing some more players have opted out. David Price of the Dodgers has decided to opt out. Sean Doolittle of the Nationals today made a very poignant statement saying that as much as he does believe people need baseball, if he ever feels in danger, then he will opt out. But as of this moment, he plans on pitching. But he also mentioned, like, it was a very poignant statement when he said, sports is the reward for a nation that does, and I'm paraphrasing here, this isn't the exact quote, but for a nation that has their stuff together. He says it. He pointed to Europe. He said there's a lot of countries over there doing soccer and other stuff again because they flattened the curve. We kind of gave up, unfortunately. Our curve did not flatten in a lot of places in the country. It has in certain areas, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, but again, you're seeing this throughout the South. You're seeing this in California. It hasn't flattened. It's not doing well. And he said, he's like, we need sports, but we also need to be smart. Wear your masks when you go out. Do your part. Social distance. You want sports back? Get your head out of your butts. Put a piece of cloth on. I went to the grocery store on Friday, and I almost had a panic attack. I actually called Lee after. I was in a very bad mood because I needed to go to the grocery store just for my basic needs. I go usually once a month, and it's usually the beginning of the month. Of course, though, it fell that the 4th of July was this week. And so I waited an hour outside the grocery store with a bunch of people to go get my groceries because I had no food, I had no drinks, I had nothing left. And there was a lady who was just screaming, walking up and down the line, being like, why won't they let me in the store? So, well, first off, you're not wearing a mask. Secondly, they're doing their best to try and keep people. They're limiting the number of people within the store at a given time so that none of us make each other sick. It's common sense, folks. And if you want sports back, you gotta implement common sense. Wear the mask. It's not a political thing. It's science. Stop politicizing science, and we will have our sports back. But that said, I went on a rant there. I went on a tangent. I apologize. But yeah, sports, they're gonna come back. They're doing the best they can. They're testing.
We are not gonna have Ray bitch about the Giants if you don't wear a mask, people. All right, if you don't wear a mask, Ray can't go nuts on the New York Giants, and that's what we all want.
Yeah, there'll be no
we
more Giant
want
rants.
Ray to have panic attacks about the Giants, not about COVID.
Yeah, exactly. That's basically it. Like, basically, look, the Giants. Look, the Giants might actually give me a heart attack, right? But like, it's probably still better than COVID. All right, look, it's and that's the thing is just look. Just be smart out there. The ball players want to play. We want the ball players to play. The leagues are doing everything they can to protect their players. Obviously, it's very unfortunate, the Freddie Freeman situation. We do hope that he gets healthy. And obviously, anybody who opts out, that's your choice. Good for you. We support you. We support that decision. We don't want anybody to feel unsafe playing a kids game because we look to you for distraction and to remind ourselves of better times and to take our mind off of everything right now. So if you play, we salute you. If you don't play, we salute you. And that's basically all I got to say on the matter. Wear a mask.
Well, now I have to fill the next 5 to 10 seconds while Ray tries to probably get his wits back and probably a drink of tea or water. Whatever he's got around. There you go. Me too. That's funny. No, I will say this. Like, there's a lot of hurdles here of players coming down with this. It, again, reiterates how contagious this thing is. But they're still moving forward. Everybody still seems to be moving forward. The NHL is getting closer. It'll be interesting to see what happens when this starts. You know, we haven't really talked about the scenario of what happens if they start and they have to stop.
Yeah.
And, you know, my answer is, look, they're trying. If they have to stop, they tried. That's really how I look at it. I mean, this is not it's not the be-all, end-all of the world if we don't have sports, but I salute them for trying. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, and also going into our next subject, which is professional wrestling, It's also happened in wrestling. In the ranks of the wrestling world, people have been pulled. Jon Moxley was supposed to defend the AEW World Championship this coming week, but they delayed the championship match against Brian Cage because they haven't said if Moxley has it, but his wife, or I think it's his wife, I'm not sure if, or fiance, Renee Young.
His partner.
Yes. She has it, and it's been confirmed and it's out there that she has it. So he's self-quarantined for the safety of everyone because obviously somebody he's so close to has gotten it. So they delayed this huge championship bout for a week. You know, and you're also seeing, you're seeing this a lot around the wrestling world, and it, it's just like, look, and obviously wrestling, I think, has handled it better than anybody, probably AEW better than even WWE, or Impact or Ring of Honor, but everybody's still going on, and as long as people are smart, as long as everybody's been testing, I mean, JR, good old JR, by the way, like, the greatest wrestling announcer of all time, every week goes on the broadcast and is basically like, folks gotta wear your... Folks, listen to me, good God Almighty, you got to wear your mask when you go out there. We are making sure that we have the best trainers in the world, and it's true. They are keeping everybody tested and safe and as well as possible in AEW. But then something like this happens, and they react immediately. Moxley's gone. Like, it's like their world champion is not wrestling for 3 weeks because they want to make sure that everybody's as safe as possible. And it's like, you just got to be smart about it.
The viewers understand, too, by the way. That's the other thing. That was a much needed sigh. I needed a sigh there. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it was. And so we went a little heavy there with the sports, but I think it was necessary.
Oh, we got a great geek segment at some point.
Oh, we are getting into the geek segment right now. I mean, we have a lot. We have a lot to talk about. So as Lee flies the Millennium Falcon there on camera, if you are watching watching on Facebook or where else. One of the big stories of this week is, and we're taking it with a grain of salt because people need to understand that if somebody's on YouTube, they are not a legitimate source. Okay, they are usually not a legitimate source. So the fact that somebody
do you know how many Star Wars things I watch on YouTube, and you're telling me none of it's real?
No, Lee, none of it is real. Unfortunately,
years I've been wasting on this.
Yes,
this
but
is no cave.
The lead story this week is that supposedly a fan has put out there, and it's getting traction on the internet because this is what happens when things go viral and nobody fact checks and nobody uses common sense. Somebody, I don't even remember his name, but it's something I probably can't say on air, has put out there that Disney is going to do a Star Wars reset, take episodes 7, 8, and 9 and put them into an alternate universe, and then redo episodes 7, 8, and 9 because of how much the fans hated the J.J. Abrams trilogy. Lee, I don't think this is going to happen. I think it's a bunch of BS. I think it's a fun idea. It's something the fans to spitball, but it's never going to happen at this point. I think Disney wants to get as far away from the Disney saga the Skywalker saga as possible. What are your thoughts on a possible Star Wars reset?
My thoughts are like Disney's at the casino, Ray, and they've lost 2 out of 3 hands, right? And they're like, let's just bet it all. Why not? Like, why would you do that? You take your winnings and you leave, okay?
Yeah.
I'll just make a statement. This is not going to happen. There's no benefit to them doing that. If anything, you devalue the franchise heavily. It's just time to move on from the Skywalker saga and make a new saga of Star Wars that's awesome, which has been proven with Clone Wars, The Mandalorian, Solo, Rogue One. I can go on. Yeah. You can do it. Get this. You can do it. All right.
The video games, Fallen Order, like...
Yes, I could keep going here. Boba Fett. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do. With this said, part of this rumor was that they were going to have some sort of multiverse excuse within the Star Wars universe. First off, I will be insulted heavily if they do that in Star Wars before Marvel does it in the MCU, number one. Or I'll even say DC does it. This is what happened, man. The Snyder Cut's coming, and it just gave everybody permission to say, we're going to redo this. We're going to redo this. I saw someone asking to release the Eric Stoltz version of Back to the Future today. I don't want to see it. I don't need to see it. Back to the Future was perfect. I don't want to see somebody screwing it up.
People are calling for the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever. They're calling for... it's ridiculous. They're calling for the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. We don't need all these director's cuts. Just let them be.
Move on. Make something better. Listen.
Every movie has footage hit the cutting room floor.
This harks all the way back to the mid-'90s when George Lucas made the special edition Star Wars, okay, which was, again, kind of cool for the time, but opened up a box of crap that I wish we never had to deal with, which was, we can just change it. And again, I understand the Snyder Cut because his child died when he was making the movie, and he didn't get a chance to finish the movie he wanted to make.
Right.
There's a very good reason that he's been giving the opportunity to do this. I can't imagine... not that there's any solace in the situation he's in, but it's an extremely nice gesture to allow him to do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to everything. So when it comes to Star Wars, leave it alone. It's done. It's like The Sopranos. It's over.
Yeah.
Okay? We're going to move on to something else now. It doesn't have to do it. We can talk discussions about how you would have done it and stuff. That's fine because those discussions have been going on for years.
Yeah.
Okay? By the way, I was having a funny discussion about how all of a sudden the prequels don't look so bad anymore. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But, let's move on to other stories within Star Wars at this point, okay? I mean, those movies are what they are. And the thing is, you can't retcon something not even a year after the last movie came out. That's just ridiculous. You got to let these things breathe, okay? I bet you that, they could create some pretty... If they really wanted to stay with Skywalker... saga stuff, this is what you do. You let the authors write the EU, the expanded universe, because they will always do a better job, and I bet you they can make a lot of that stuff make sense in a cool way, all right? Star Wars is in a time period now, this is the way cinema is, where 3 movies actually is not enough to tell the story correctly anymore. In fact, it's probably not just Star Wars.
Yeah.
All right? I think you're going to start seeing that outside things like John Wick, which is just straight-up shoot-'em movies and action...
Yeah.
Where there's really no deep plot.
Yeah.
You can fight me on that, but there's really not a deep plot in those movies.
Yeah.
Okay? It's episodic really in nature. All right? Things like sagas, they need streaming now. That's why The Mandalorian is so great.
Yeah.
That's why The Last Dance was so great.
You need episodic.
You can't tell the movie in 3. Yeah. You can't tell a story in 3 movies anymore.
No.
I'm going to remind people this. There are 5 years between movies in the original Star Wars trilogy. Or 3 years.
3 years.
A lot of time. A lot of time passes between the movies.
I was going to say, a lot of time in universe passes, too. Right? We talk about this all the time. Technically, Return of the Jedi takes place 5 years after Empire Strikes Back. Luke goes back, does a lot more training on his own, all this other stuff. There's a lot that happens, and I think also one of the big problems with this current Star Wars trilogy is they didn't give a lot of breathing time with that. They tried to tell a very... linear story in 3 movies, which, like you said, that lends itself more to episodic content.
It does. And here's the other thing, too. I'm not so sure the original trilogy would be accepted today. 5 years between movies, that wouldn't fly in a lot of cases, but it's not the point. They're not going to retcon 7, 8, and 9. It's not going to happen. Just know that. I don't believe that for a second. And I'm not for a multiverse in the Star Wars galaxy. I don't need that or want that.
No.
All right? Only in comic books is what I would say. They did kind of a what if in the comic books one time that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I don't need a multiverse. I need a multiverse in that.
Yeah.
Okay, by the way, okay, sorry, I do have to say this. I don't need it because it's never existed in Star Wars before. Ever.
Yeah.
It's existed in DC, it's existed in Marvel. That's why I'm all for it in those galaxies, in those universes. It's never existed in Star Wars. All right? So that... Don't create... I don't need a Band-Aid,
To play devil's advocate, though, people could always argue, it's there wasn't a multiverse in Marvel and DC until there was. Yeah,
but it lends itself... Those were comic books. That's what I'm saying. It lended itself to that. Star Wars was not a comic book.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's the thing. I think people just need to... Look, you just need to get over the fact that the movie, the last trilogy wasn't as good as it could have been, and that... Disney made some mistakes, and you have to move on and still look at the Star Wars stuff you still love, The Mandalorian, Fallen Order, things of that nature, and just, Rogue One, and just that's it, and just move forward, and then hopefully. Again, I really do hope at some point they bring back the expanded universe and kind of more canonize that stuff. But we'll see.
No, that was kind of where they were going with this. I'm gonna say this again because I think people forgot. I want you to remember what you felt like watching The Mandalorian the first time. It felt right.
Yeah.
Felt great. All right, that whole series, the whole time it was on, it felt great to be a Star Wars fan. All right, Rise of Skywalker hadn't happened yet. Yeah. All right, so my point is Star Wars will be fine. You don't need to fix anything, and let's just move forward and get this new content out, get these good games out, and we'll move forward without it. I'm going to say this again, Ray. All right, I went most of my life without additional Star Wars films, and it was fine. I got made fun of for it. People didn't like them, but most of the time in my life, there were not additional Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Okay? Star Wars will be fine.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. I agree. And speaking of new content and new things, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Looks like they're getting a new movie produced by Seth Rogen and in conjunction with Nickelodeon. This will be interesting. Obviously, the Turtles now seems to get rebooted every 5 to 10 years. You get a new movie or two, new producers, new look, new style. I actually didn't hate the last 2 Ninja Turtle movies that came out that they had where they were kind of bigger and bulkier. You can criticize the design as much as you want, but in terms of the actual content of the films, how they did Shredder, how they did the Mutagen and mutants in general, I think they were all right. I'm curious to see what Seth Rogen does. I'm curious to see. Obviously, he's better known for his comedic chops. Just how much comedy he'll inject into this. I don't want to go back to the late 80s Ninja Turtles, right? As much as I loved those cartoons as a kid, I don't think they hold up as well today necessarily. Understanding what they were for their time, though. Same thing with G.I. Joe back in the day in the 80s and stuff. I love them as a snippet of my childhood, but I don't think they stand up today. But I'm curious to see what they do. I'm curious to see what the art style they go with. Nickelodeon rebooting it again. It's kind of okay. I also understand why big companies do that a lot now. My experience with Warner Brothers taught me that a lot of the times the reason why they reboot things a lot, why they rebooted Batman cartoons so much in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, why they rebooted Justice League, why they rebooted a lot of this stuff is they don't think that kids have the attention span to stick with something for more than 3 or 4 seasons, which is actually wrong. But what do you expect from a bunch of old white guys in suits up in an ivory tower? They don't understand. They don't understand fandom. And I'm curious if Nickelodeon's making that same mistake where I think if they should just kind of stick with things. But either way, we are getting a new Ninja Turtles CGI film. Lee, what are your thoughts on the new Turtles movie that's coming?
Yeah, it's interesting, okay, because there's a lot of things here. So if Seth Rogen's doing it, Seth Rogen is highly likely to be a fan that we are of the Ninja Turtles, having grown up with them in the late 80s into the 90s. So like you had said this, you hope that it's not that. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. I will tell you this. There was a movie, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, that I think went severely under the radar. Severely. And I think it did actually the best job of any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. Okay, so obviously, just to give a really quick history, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the live-action movie, came out in 1990, followed by TMNT 2, Secret of the Ooze, 91. And then they made a horrendous movie, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Travel one. Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah, in 1993, where they go back to feudal Japan. Which I think had a good idea, but messed it up. All right.
Yeah, they were inspired by the video game, I think, and it just the video game was amazing. Movie, not so much.
Yes. And then more recently, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out the CGI in 2014, followed by Out of the Shadows in 2016. Yeah. When I'm with Ray, they weren't bad at all. They were Michael Bay films, which is exactly what they were. They were Transformer-esque. Yeah. And they were fine for the time. But the movie that I'm talking about came out in 2007, and it was just called TMNT. And what it did really brilliantly was it acknowledged the live-action films.
Yep.
And this was essentially a 4th film.
Yeah.
All right? And they made them older. And now this is what I loved about it. The reason they call it TMNT is because they were clearly in their mid to late 20s in this film in terms of the Turtles. They were older, they were more mature, and it really fit it really fit well. And again, they acknowledged the live action film.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, this movie just, I mean, it was there, and I remember it was a big deal when it came out, and then just kind of fizzled away. And it was an animated film. I'm pretty sure it was in the theaters.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing it in theaters. I even had the video game tie-in. Like, it was not a bad. It wasn't bad, and I wish it was a good reboot, and I don't know why they didn't continue with it.
Yeah, well, and for whatever reason they didn't. All right, and then we got a lot of great made-for-TV types movies. Turtles Forever was a really good one, which was a multiverse. Now that I'm thinking about it, but I really liked that. Now, this is what I think about TMNT and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles today: is that it's kind of like Batman for me now, whereas I don't need their origin story again. I know who they are. I always liked the idea of them being a little bit older. Now, again, it comes down to kind of like what does Viacom still own them? I mean, whoever owns them, it comes down to what are they trying to accomplish.
That's all of them,
Yeah, like what are you trying to accomplish? You're trying to reboot them again? I mean, because here's the thing. Kids all know them, man. Kids all know who the Turtles are. So it's like, I don't know. I like TMNT because it evolved the characters. It brought them to a new level. It was something that, looking back on it now, I could enjoy that with my son, and I could also enjoy that as a fan of the franchise. And again, like, it's just one of those things. Can you evolve the characters at this point? So I'd like to see something like that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's what new thing can you do that we haven't seen before with Turtles? Like, is it gonna be more comic related? Will you introduce some of the new mutants like in the comics from the last few years, from like IDW, like Alopex to like Snow Fox and stuff? Like, I mean, will you have the female turtle that the comics just reintroduced, which isn't Venus, by the way? It's another girl. I can't think of her name right now. Like,
where's Venus then?
Yeah, it's basically it's not.
I said, but where's Venus then if she's not there?
Yeah, I don't know. But like, it's
talk about retconning and multiverses.
Yeah, no, it's curious. It's gonna be curious to see what they do and to see why do a movie when you can't just do another TV show. Because I mean, that's the thing, is that Nickelodeon has really had a lot of success with their recent iteration of the Turtles in television. So it's gonna be curious.
It's
to see
another
what they
franchise that belongs on TV.
Yeah.
Again, it's episodic. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna do a film, you almost have to do the origin. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say. It's like it's episodic. You know, like, I don't know. I like Turtles Forever because it visited every Turtles we've ever known. Like, it was brilliant. You know what I mean? But it was also episodic.
Yeah.
Even though it was a film, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
That film starts out, there's no origin story. It's just, hey, we're the Turtles and we're here. And there's other Turtles. Oh, my God. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, look, here's some noir Turtles. Here's the 80s Turtles. Here's the modern Turtles. It was great.
Yeah. No, it was great, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do here. But like you said, Turtles is typically TV. It's episodic. It's more of that. And speaking of television, a couple of new TV shows were announced this week. The first one is another throwback, and I'm interested to see what they do with it, but I don't think we needed it. Beavis and Butthead is coming back, a 2-season order, I believe, in Comedy Central. I'm not sure.
Hey Ray.
Yeah, Lee.
What is it, Lee? What is it, Lee? Ray.
Fire! Anyway, part of our childhood, again, Beavis and Butthead gets a 2-season order. I don't think we needed Beavis and Butthead to come back, though. Like,
this is what I'll tell you. We either really need it or we don't need it at all. There's not going to be a middle ground here. This is going to be one of those greatest comebacks of all time, or not at all. Now, here's the real question about it, Ray. A big part of Beavis and Butthead, which people don't remember, is a big part of that show was them watching music videos. That's how the show began, was them watching music videos. This was not something where they had a lot of stories. They would watch music videos, and then the movie came out, and it became kind of something else.
Right.
So, that I would love, because my opinion is the music industry is horrendous today, just really, really bad. So I would love the idea of Beavis and Butthead coming out of the 90s, coming to today, thinking of this future, then watching like a Nicki Minaj video, or like what's her name, that coronavirus,
Cardi B.
Cardi B. I would love to see them. Hey Beavis. What is that? Cardi B. Coronavirus. I mean, I could see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that would be funny. And you could keep it not political. because that's the problem. Is like, there's no way they can do their normal stories. There's no way that's gonna fly with cancel culture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if they watch music videos, that could be refreshing for me.
No, that's true. I mean, and that's the thing.
I mean, can you imagine them watching Wrecking Ball? Sorry. I mean, can you imagine them watching some of these videos for the last 20 years?
Well, that's the thing,
that
too.
would be brilliant.
Like, I mean, if I could forget they even still make music videos because I don't even know where you can watch them anymore besides YouTube.
YouTube.
Yeah, like, that's it. It's like YouTube. It's like, that's it. But, like...
the most watched YouTube videos of all time now are music videos. So, like, that's how you know there's still an audience for it. But that's how I would reboot it.
Yeah.
And if I'm right, we're going to come back on here and celebrate that I'm right.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a great idea. I mean, for sure. Like you said, it needs to be done either perfectly or really not at all. So we'll see what happens there. Also announced this week, for you video game fans, a Fallout TV show is in development. Of course, Bethesda, one of the, they did Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, New Vegas. Obviously, this is a great series. It's a post-apocalyptic America that's kind of in that trapped. It's a mix of the future with like a 1960s kind of vibe. So you see, like it's the future of what the folks in the 1960s thought the future might have been, right? If everything went to hell. But it's going to be interesting to see this show, what they do, where they follow, where it's set. Obviously, Fallout's been set in a lot of different areas, from Washington, D.C. to Boston to West Virginia to obviously Las Vegas. Like, where will they set it? Will they pick a new region? Will they pick somewhere we haven't explored before? How tightly will it tie in with the lore of the series? And how will it affect the games, if at all? Like, but I am curious to see what they do with that. Lee, what are your thoughts on a Fallout television show?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I could see it working. I think if it's too dark, too quick, it won't work. I think it's got to have a little bit of that, like Fallout has a little bit of flair in it that makes it a little bit more enjoyable.
Yes.
Outside 76, they haven't, to my knowledge, they haven't done a strong origin story for that. Which would be interesting to see if they do. I know in Fallout 76, the first part of the game is the actual
bombs,
nuclear.
But
they don't.
In Fallout 3 and 4, you get that at the very, very beginning, like just to set up why your family's in the vault a little bit. Like, obviously in Fallout 4, you're one of the few who gets into you get into the cryogenically frozen one. Like it's and then in 3, it's more your family history, like growing up in the vault. So, but yeah, no, you don't get a lot of that pre-bomb stuff going on.
Yeah, so that might be an interesting story to tell. Although I also think it would be fine if they didn't and told another story. I don't think it's going to follow the games at all.
No.
That would be my guess. This is very much like a Resident Evil type cinematic type thing where they're probably going to have to make new characters in a new world and reference. But I think it could totally work. I mean, look, here's the deal. Chernobyl, the HBO short film, did very well.
Yeah.
And that is very much in the same vein as Fallout, except it actually happened. But if you get the director from that, no, I'm just kidding. I'm saying I think that movie was or that mini. I don't know if it's a mini series, what they call it, cinematic event. It was really captivating and really good. And that was just based on facts. I mean, if you actually had some creative directors, you could make something really enjoyable there. So. Fallout's a great gaming series. I think it could make a great TV show. I think it's a big deal that I think we're really at the beginning of a golden age of gaming cinematic videos coming out, because there's a lot of games turning into shows right now, and they're coming quick and fast right now.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is Hollywood's out of ideas, so they're looking to video games now, and smartly so. And it's there's a lot of untapped potential in a lot of the universes that have been created. And you can make a television series a lot faster than you can make a video game or even a movie.
It's true. A lot cheaper too, by the way.
That's it depends on the movie or video game. Depends.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog.
We made it twice.
Yeah. Speaking of making video games, this is a big deal, and we actually talked about it with our guest this week. We should tease that we have a huge guest coming on later this week. in the form of Roberto Clemente Jr., of course, the son of the great Roberto Clemente, but an accomplished athlete and sportscaster in his own right is going to come on. Also talk about some video games. He's a big gamer. He's got a new app out, which is something we're going to talk about. But terrific guy, absolutely terrific. But one of the things we touch on with him, and we're going to talk about now, is the first prescription video game is coming out. It's a video game for ADHD. There's also been talk for a long time of video games help with PTSD and things of that nature. This is a big deal. The FDA has approved it. This is as a therapy for ADHD.
I want to reiterate that you just said that. This is FDA approved.
Yes.
Okay, that's the Food and Drug Administration approved this.
Yes.
This is a video game. So I just want to emphasize that, because I think people hear FDA approval all the time. This is a video game.
Yeah, this isn't actually. Yeah, this is like they're using this as in lieu of a traditional drug therapy for ADHD kids, and I think this is fantastic. I think that I've always obviously been a huge proponent of games and the positives. Our buddy Brad, obviously with Mental Health Gaming, has talked about the proponents.
Great podcast.
The positives of gaming and whatnot. So this is, I think, a huge deal. I think this is something that's been a long time coming. I know a lot of people have, with fake science, tried to disparage the game industry for a while, saying it has negative effects on your brain. Honestly, the honest truth is we don't know all the effects video games have long-term on people's brains, although we're starting to study that and find out now. And really, almost everything has been positive. It's been... it helps with problem solving. It helps with your certain cognitive abilities in terms of, problem solving and things of that nature, and your critical thinking. Yes, there are some people where video games seem like, I think it's less than 1% of gamers where it triggers an addictive nature to it, but it's very, very rare. I mean, and that's honestly with anything in life. If you do too much of it, it's bad for you. But yeah, I think this is just another thing showing the positivity of video games. I think it's great. What do you think, Lee?
It's an interesting topic, especially now that I have children. And what ends up happening is, Ray, you and I and most of the people listening were told, don't watch too much TV, don't play too many games, it'll rot your brain. Yeah. And so, as a parent, I have to think about that because I can hear that in my head all the time. And it's funny. I called Ray last week because I was saying my son Logan is extremely into games. He's 6. Yeah. He really loves them, and I can tell he's always asking to play. I'm sure some of the other parents out there deal with that, but my son really loves gaming. And what I've done is I've actually bought a lot of educational games for him. He doesn't care. Mm-hmm. He loves playing them. And it's a funny balance because here's the deal: is they have to get out in the real world. Maybe not right now, but they have to get out in the real world. They have to go to school. They have to interact with actual people. There's a lot of basic people skills that he's got to learn. So the way I've taken an approach to this, and this is to answer your question, is especially right now is I do writing and reading. We do some math. We go for walks. We do a lot of stuff like that, but I don't have a major problem with him playing a game for a few hours. Now, this is where it becomes a problem. He cannot play for 9 hours and ignore his responsibilities, and ignore his chores, and not shower, and not eat, and not take care of himself. Yeah. Okay, that's when this becomes a problem. I'm not going to stand for that, but I'm not going to fight him on the games and say they're a waste of his time. Because he loves it. He loves the stories. He loves the creativity. He loves the learning. And I've seen him learn from these games. I've seen him learn skills. So I think that this is a positive turn, obviously. I could totally see how games would help people out of depression or help people with anxiety. You and I both have friends. You mentioned, obviously Mental Health Gaming. That podcast talks about this a lot. So I'm interested to see where this goes. Again, it's always going to be a balancing act. You can't, some people would argue this, but you can't leave reality completely without major consequences. Okay, you have to, you have to be able to socialize in some form or another. Okay, and do basic functions of the real life. And there's been plenty of movies that have explored that. All right, but I think it's wonderful. I think it's great. I'd like to see some more of this. I'd like to see more literature and more studies, Ray, as you kind of alluded to, of how gaming can help us expand and grow as a society. And not just as escapism. You know what I mean? Gamification works, and it doesn't just work in kids. It works in adults, too. We all want to play games. We all want to have that fun time things. I should say a majority of us, too. So look, and again, the last thing I'll say is we're entering this time period now. Video games started in the late 70s, really, and we're entering this time period now where if you're 50 or below, you've played games at some point in your life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean that's a majority of people now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a different era now. You go back 20 years, it's 30 and down. 30 and down. That doesn't leave a lot of room. So, in 10 more years, 20 more years, the whole pretty much. Everyone will have played games at some point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just the dynamic changes over time. Same thing with television. We joked about this. The radio will rot your brain. TV will rot your brain. Computer will rot your brain. I mean, it's just,
Our brains are still
I don't
here.
know one. Yeah, I don't know one medical case where someone's brain was legit rotted.
Yeah.
Okay? Drugs will do it.
Yeah.
But guess what games do? They keep your kids off drugs.
Yeah. That's actually
I'm Lee Elias, and I approve this message.
Yes.
I don't have a frying pan and an egg to crack into right now.
That's an old reference. Yeah. That's
yeah.
Speaking of the future of games, though, some big news happened this week. So, NBA 2K21 revealed their cover athletes for the next generation of games. We knew the game was coming. We knew Zion would be one, but so Damian Lillard will be this generation's cover athlete, Xbox One, PS4. Zion Williamson will be next generation, which is PS5 and Xbox X. And Kobe Bryant will be. Yeah, he's not happy, and he also was like, he knew it was coming this time. And Kobe Bryant will be, of course, on all the special editions. No surprise, the Ultimate Edition's obviously in honor of Kobe, which it feels like forever ago, but it was just January when he tragically passed. Yeah. So those three, but also NBA 2K might have released so for the first time in 25 years, the video game industry might have a price hike on what is the base model of a video game, saying that the next generation, the standard next generation version of NBA 2K21 is going to be $70 and not $60. Now, again, there was a period in the early 90s when Nintendo had a monopoly in the market where they hiked everything up to $70 to $75 for a new game, and then people pulled back, and then it was actually then Sega came in and lowered the price again, and then you had that price war, and you had this things settled at $60 where we're at now in the mid-90s, and it's been that way since then, which again, and we always say on the show, when companies compete, we all win. And that's what ended up happening. But now it's getting to the point where, and this also goes back to something we talked about earlier, where some of these companies may operate at a loss on the terms of selling the hardware for the consoles, whether it's PS5 or Xbox X, and this might be a way for them to recoup their losses even faster by hiking up the software or the games in the hopes that people will buy at least 3 or 4 at launch. Especially if they go, and this might also be a way for them to go all digital. We don't know if this is a physical price point. We don't know if this is a digital price point as well. Because I know for a fact that the game industry has wanted to push digital for a while, and if they're like, not only will the digital version of the consoles, digital only version of the consoles, be $100 cheaper, but the digital versions of the games will be $60 instead of the $70 if you buy physical. This might be another way for them to kind of start pushing technology again, but we don't know that. That's just me speculating. Either way, it's a big deal if this is true that you're going to see an industry-wide price hike, because it'll be the first, mind you, with inflation and with everything else, and the fact that video games have held out for so long, movie prices, all this stuff, all this entertainment has constantly been hiking their prices for years. That video games have waited this long to do a price hike, it's a big deal and it's a bit understandable. But Lee, will this in any way deter you from buying games? Will this in any way? Are you okay with this price hike? What are your thoughts? Because I think overall I'm fine with it.
It'll deter me from buying bad games, and I think that's the key to the whole thing, is if the game is good and it's worth it, I don't think $70 is too much to pay for a really great game. Mm-hmm. Now, if a game is 4 to 5 hours and I'm beating it at $70, I'm going to be a little pissed off. But this is where game journalists have to do their job. This is where game makers have to do their job, make a really good game for $70. We also talked about the potential of, add-on content, and maybe that won't be so expensive anymore. There's a lot of ways to look at this. I think also from an industrious point of view, which is different than the quality of a game. Gaming's having a hard year right now in terms of profits for multiple reasons. I mean, some ways they're probably doing really well, and some ways they're doing pretty bad. Like they took hits in some ways is what I'm trying to say. So that might be a way to make up some of the costs. But no, if the game is good, you vote with your dollars. And I can understand an extra $10 on a new next-gen game that might be way better than anything I've ever played in my life. I get it. This also might mean that you might get one game instead of two this year for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever. But my attitude is this: make it good, make a great game. If you're getting 100 hours of gameplay for $70, what's that for an hour, Ray? What is that an hour?
Yeah, that's like 70 cents or something. It's pretty good for entertainment. So you know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to say. Make a good game. Yeah, I'll pay $70 for a good game, but I'm what I think you will see is people holding out on certain releases to see if it's good and to see what people say about it first. But something like NBA 2K, no, basketball gamers are gonna buy it. Of course they're gonna buy it. Yeah, you don't want to be the guy that doesn't have that. But I could see newer games, new storylines. I could see people waiting 2 weeks to hear what you have to say about the game before they're going to buy it. Yeah, I think what will result from this is hopefully a more educated consumer. You'll see less pre-orders, less midnight sales, right? Like big spectaculars, people lining up to get the next GTA or Red Dead Redemption.
More advanced copies.
Yes, yes, exactly.
A lot more, yeah.
Yeah, you'll start seeing people, like you said, they'll go back to listening to game journos and take people's opinions, people who get the games early kind of in stride and kind of use it to make hopefully a educated purchasing decision. A lot of times people, especially in the past couple generations, they just hear about a game, they think it looks great, they'll pre-order, then they'll get it, and they'll be disappointed. Because they didn't wait, they didn't educate themselves as much as they should have. So I do think that's also a very good point. That I think that hopefully the consumer will pause. This will give the consumer pause, not enough to stop them from buying a game altogether, but that maybe you don't see you might see the expanded life of a sales game. Typically, a lot of games sell the most copies in the first week of release. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Typically, it's the first week or two of release, and then typically it'll kind of peter out. They'll still sell for a couple of months, and at the 3-month mark, that's when you see a game go on sale because they're not selling units anymore, so they cut the price in the hope to kind of get another spike again. You might see this now more where instead of you have that sharp drop off, you might see a more steady decline. The peak that initial sale will not be as high, but you'll see a more steady sales life for a game because of this, because hopefully the people will start to educate themselves a bit more, and that's kind of the theme of today's episode, folks. Just educate yourselves more. Common sense. Just wear a mask. But no, also again, I think that I think it'll be fine. I think in the long run, I think this will be fine. I think most gamers understand the need for the price hike. Of course, there's going to be a few folks out there who are probably going to lose their minds. But this is I'm fine with this. Like I said, it's been 25 years since there's been a price hike in the games industry. It's kind of been due. So speaking of people losing their minds, and speaking of video games, we need to talk about this a little bit. Laura Bailey, one of the most accomplished voice actresses in video games. She's in Gears of War. She's in, I want to say she's been in Uncharted. She's been in Injustice, I believe, as well. She's been in, it's. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, but she's been in. If there's a female character in a game you've played in the past 10 years, there's a really good chance that Laura Bailey was the voice or the voice of one of the females. And of course, she was in The Last of Us 2. And her character, minor spoiler alert, her character kills somebody in the game, and fans got really mad about it, weren't happy about it, and proceeded to send Laura death threats because of what her character did in the game. And I want people to understand, and this is sometimes where maybe video games aren't so great, because clearly there are some folks who have detached themselves from that reality that Lee talked about earlier, and who don't understand that an actor is playing pretend, and in a video game, these are all pretend characters, and nobody actually is real, and it's just a bunch of pixels on screen, and they're just trying to tell you a story. It's like somebody killing a character in a book, or a comic book, or somebody killing somebody in a movie. It's not real. It's not real, folks. And the actor in particular, who's just acting on what the director wants and what the writer wants and what the producer wants, definitely has no say, or very, very, very little say. And I would say in the video game industry, they have no say because of the way the animation works and how that all goes on what the character does. So stop sending Laura death threats, because it's disgusting, it's despicable, and it's just stupid. So, just wanted to put that out there. Also, Lin-Manuel Miranda. If you haven't watched Hamilton yet, it's amazing. I watched it this week, and I know Lee's going to be watching it at some point. Hamilton has been put out there for everybody to enjoy if you have a Disney Plus subscription. It's one of probably the best play of the decade. Definitely one of the most influential. Same thing. People have been sending Lin-Manuel Miranda hate things on Twitter, hate tweets, and he's made his account private now. Folks, get off of social media if you're going to be doing this. If you don't like something, that's fine, but don't attack the creators, don't attack the actors, don't attack the writers. It's oh god, that's not how we should be. If you don't like something, you can express an opinion, but do so humanely. Do so with a bit of modicum of integrity and decency, and wear a mask while doing it. That's how I'm gonna end that. Lee, what are your thoughts?
Well, Ray, I strongly disagree with you on this. People paid lots of money to see Hamilton in the theater over the last 5 years. And with that said, because I disagree with you, seriously, I would like the following films to be removed from the lexicon. I would like The Phantom of the Opera, all of them gone. Les Miserables, gone. Rent, The Book of Mormon, The Lion King, Mamma Mia, The Producers, Cats, Hairspray, Beauty and the Beast, Jersey Boys, Fiddler on the Roof, My Fair Lady, Chicago, Hello Dolly, Mary Poppins, Annie, Grease, 42nd Street Avenue Q, Cabaret, The Sound of Music, Sweeney Todd, Oklahoma, Hair, Evita, Anything Goes, Man of La Mancha, Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, Into the Woods, Dreamgirls, Billy Elliot. I'm sure there's more.
Aladdin.
All of those have to go now because people paid money to see them on Broadway, and they're on film, and that's not acceptable whatsoever. Why should the lower class people that can't afford a ticket to Hamilton have to just get it for free on Disney Plus? It's not okay. You know, did I say West Side Story? I think I did. I'm appalled. I'm appalled that people think that it's okay that these Broadway shows can just go on film, because it's never happened before except for the 35 films I just mentioned.
Yeah.
And I am appalled, sir. So, yes. You idiots! What's wrong with you? What are you complaining about? What's wrong with you? God help us that someone else should enjoy Hamilton, you bastards. Give me a break.
God.
You know what? If that's your biggest complaint today, God bless you. I mean that. Everything going on in the world, God bless you. Well, I mean, 2020 has been horrible, but they went over the top when they put Hamilton on Disney Plus. I had my bar, all right, and the Hamilton thing ripped through my bar. Because it's on Disney Plus.
Oh, God. Yeah. Come on.
Bravo.
Again, folks, we've been preaching it all show.
I'm going to give you all a standing ovation for this complaint. You idiots. Anyway,
common sense. Common sense. All right? Just use some common sense. All right?
All of those movies have got to go, Ray. Horrible.
Leave Lin-Manuel Miranda alone. He's a genius who did something. This should be his shining.
You should be writing John Travolta right now and telling him he ruined my summer night. All right? you should write him a letter and let him know this is not okay. And while you're at it, you should email Spider-Man and tell him that Billy Elliot should never have been made a movie.
Yeah.
Because he was Billy Elliot, for those of you who don't know that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it.
Tom Holland was Billy Elliot, for those of you who don't know. I bet you a lot of you don't know that. Very famous Broadway show. Tom Holland. Also, Spamalot, Monty Python's got to go now, too. Now that I'm thinking.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, that
no
did
more
the
Harry
that
Potters.
did the reverse. Spam-A-Lot, remember, was a
Harry
movie
Potter.
that became
Harry
a
Potter's
play.
got to go now, too. Now, well, then maybe we have to remove their movies and fight Broadway. Idiots.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ Superstar, gone.
Yeah.
Showboat, lifting off, gone.
Folks, you gotta. I don't know why some of you all just want to be angry. Trust me, I'm angry all the time too, and I have a lot to be angry about. But this yelling at actors like Laura Bailey for something that she had no control over, and yelling at creator actors like Lin-Manuel Miranda because in what should be his shining moment, the fact that something that he created now can finally, because as a creator, really, yes, the money's nice, but you really just want people to enjoy your product and enjoy your creation, and this should be his shining moment now where he can bring it. He's gotten to a point with it that he can bring it to the masses to educate and entertain and just make your days better during what is a tough time for everyone right now. Stop peeing in everyone else's cornflakes. All right? It's a terrible time. Wear your masks. Stop being so angry.
Wait, what was the last thing you said?
Huh?
That's good advice. Stop being so angry.
Yeah, I know. I look, there are things to be angry about. But you shouldn't be angry at just for the sake of being angry, because either you're angry, honestly, I just think you're all misplacing your anger, and you're attacking people who don't deserve to be attacked. There's a lot of people to be angry at in the world. Laura Bailey and Lin-Manuel Miranda, for their respective projects, are not two people to be angry about and not two people to be angry at.
Oh, no, that's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
Yeah. No.
I can't turn green, but, it hits the thing, and then it flies up, and then Iron Man shoots it, and then it blows up, and, they go on to beat Loki and save New York. Until the next movie. Yes.
Oh, goodness. So I had one more topic, but I don't think it transitions well, so I think we're just going to go on to
I'll do it real quick. All right, it won't transition well, but I do want to talk about Alien and Predator leaving Dark Horse and going to Marvel.
This is a big deal if you're a comic book fan, yeah.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Dark Horse did some amazing comics for a long time. They actually had Star Wars for a long time, too.
Yeah.
And they did a lot of great Star Wars. And Star Wars is funny. Star Wars went from Marvel to Dark Horse, and I don't even know where they are now. I think they're back in Marvel.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where Star Wars comics reside.
Star Wars is Marvel now, yeah.
Yeah, this is big for the comic book industry because it shows that it's becoming a two-party system.
Yeah.
DC and Marvel are really going to eat up everything. It also leaves open Alien and Predator to exist in Marvel, which you could have some very interesting they wouldn't be crossovers anymore. They would just be canon. So
yeah,
I don't expect to see Predator and Alien in the MCU at all, ever, but it would be pretty cool to see the X-Men fight the aliens. Put Wolverine on a ship with them where they could kill him over and over again, and Predator could be cool too. So we'll see where that goes. But they're leaving Dark Horse Comics, going to Marvel.
Yeah, have them interact with the Shi'ar or something, and the X-Men have to come in.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Or whatever. Yeah,
that would be cool.
No, it's true. It is a big deal. It shows that probably Dark Horse, as they continue to lose their biggest properties, are probably in a lot of trouble.
And that's it. That's it. They don't have. What else do they have? Hellboy. Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that would be it. Yeah. And then so I mean, if you have, as of this moment, Marvel has said they don't have any plans to bring Alien and Predator into the Marvel universe. But like Lee said, let's be honest, they may not do it immediately. It'd be stupid not to do it at some point, or at least do it as a special miniseries or something.
Hey, if DC can bring the Watchmen in,
yeah. Oh God, well that was a disaster.
Yeah, of course it was. No. Dr. Manhattan did it. Who?
Yeah,
Dr. Manhattan, legendary god.
Ugh. Yeah, that was a disaster. But I think that it is interesting. I mean, especially during a time where Diamond Distributors is choking the life out of small-time comic book shops, because that came out today as well, as they hike their prices to try and make up for the money lost during COVID. So let's put it on the small-time mom-and-pop comic book shop and let them deal with all the extra the prices, because they're not struggling right now either. Unbelievable.
It's just going to be all digital soon. That's the way it's going to be.
Probably. That's probably what's going to happen. I mean, and this is just pushing things of this nature forward more. You're seeing it in video games. You're going to see it in comic books. Digital only. Physical media. Look, I know there's a lot of collectors out there, but for the most part and for the general consumer, going digital only will be the right move for a lot of these companies to keep them to keep existing and keep creating the material that we love. So that does it for the regular part of the show. We now move on to our mashup. We've talked a lot today about different worlds, different universes. Of course, obviously, sports is coming back, which is a big deal. So Lee came up with the mashup that what's a fictional place you'd like to see a pro sports game? Also, of course, Field of Dreams was a big one, obviously, that recreating a baseball game in Iowa. So what fictional place would you like to see a pro sports game take place? Lee, I'll let you go first since this was your mashup, buddy.
Yeah, you know me, I like to discuss these things because they get pretty funny. Like the first place that popped in my head was Mustafar, which is a lava planet from Star Wars. And then you start thinking like, people could die. So it might not be such a great location. And then you start thinking things like, too, I start thinking like, well, what about Hyrule Field? You could play a big soccer football game on Hyrule Field until, depending on what time period in Zelda you're doing it. I mean, and what if one of those things that kind of shoots things out of its mouth comes at you in the middle of a football game? That could be pretty dangerous, too. Or do I want to see equestrian horse racing, at the same stable where we find Epona? There's so many tough decisions to make here, but there's so many dangers. For example, if I wanted to do something in Skyrim, is there danger of a dragon attack at any given time? How do you fight that, right? How do you fight that? So, with that said, it's tough to pick a place right off the bat. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It would be very tough to slay a dragon with a baseball bat. I don't think that would lend itself. I mean, I'm sure it does more damage than your fists, but let's be honest, like especially pro baseball where it's wood and not metal. Like, at least if you're playing, like, in a Little League or, like, even College World Series bat and you have the aluminum bats, those could probably do a little bit of damage against a dragon, but, like, a baseball bat, not so much. Like, a wooden baseball bat. Unless you found, like, the soft spot and you try to make it, like, a stake through the heart or something, maybe, but... Yeah, I mean, it's a really tough one. Like, I mean, originally, because I just think of, obviously, sports in other worlds. Like, I love Gears of War. Obviously, Gears of War is one of my favorite, and they have Thrash Ball, which is that world's, like, kind of like a football, rugby kind of thing. So, I mean, they've had sports before and sports arenas. So, they already have the infrastructure for sports Locust immersion, pre-E-Day, when the Locust emerged from underground and started slaughtering everyone. So, I mean, if they ever got back to that point, you could see sports... maybe return in a place like Gears of War. They'd have to eradicate the Locust, which they're not nowhere close to doing because that would end the franchise, or they make it come back for an unnecessary trilogy like Gears 4 and Gears 5, and obviously Gears 6 on Xbox X. I'm going to try and work it in as much as I can, buddy. But I think that... it's a really tough question. It's really interesting. Obviously, we want to know what you guys think. I guess my initial, obviously we know we have a lot of sports, obviously, in places like Gotham City, and a lot of comic book places. Obviously, you have the Gotham Knights. You have, obviously Metropolis has sports, but that's more of a one-to-one real world. Like, so. Yeah,
I'd like to see. I haven't answered. I did have an answer. Okay, I would like to see the Stanley Cup Final out in Wampa One Arena.
Hoth.
Yeah, I'd like to see that happen. Or the Winter Classic, just, Wampa One Arena, Hoth, two teams battle it out. Hopefully there's not an Imperial invasion. You can make that work.
Yeah, I would like to see... That's the one sport we really... So we've had, like, Mega Man Soccer. We've had Mario Strikers. So they've done soccer. Mario's done, I think, 3-on-3 basketball, baseball... when is Mario
Baseball is a great game. I really
Super
wish they would bring
Sluggers.
that back.
I wish they would bring that back, but also, why don't we have Mario Hockey yet? There's an Iceland in Mario 3. There's an Iceland. Like, why don't we have hockey yet?
Well, and the original game, Hockey for the NES, was pretty much Mario sprites.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing, too. I mean, yeah, hockey doesn't get enough love when it comes to games. Now, they did do a game in the NHL franchise called, what was it? It was not, so they have threes, which is one thing, but they had another game that was like a mini game with like some fun characters, and your characters could get really big and really small, and I cannot remember the name of that game right now. Yeah. But it was like an NHL side game. It was like NHL Arcade. I think it was called NHL Arcade. And it was really fun, and all the sound effects were made by humans. It's like, York, beep, boop. Like they did things like that. But that's about as far as I've gone with fun stuff outside of NHL hits.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, fun kids game, Mario Hockey. Maybe they have it in Mario Party. I haven't played that game enough yet to know.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they have. There's ice-themed games, but I don't think that there's actual proper hockey. But I think that's something that Nintendo should look into.
The closest thing we've had in Mario to an ice sport is luging next to a penguin. So
that's true. I mean, there have been, unfortunately, even when Mario and Sonic go to the Winter Olympics, I don't know if there's hockey in that.
Probably not.
Yeah, Mario, you need to work on that. Nintendo, Miyamoto, you guys need to work on that. But I think that's a good point to wrap up the show. So Sarah, I guess for me, obviously Lee, to Hoth. Where would you like to see a sports game? What fictional world would you like to see a sport take place? Let us know below. And as always, thank you all so much for listening. We appreciate it. Be sure to listen on iTunes. Give us that 5-star rating. Give us a comment. We always appreciate those. And obviously, join the Facebook group, geekswholikesports.com. If you want, you can buy us a cup of coffee on our Ko-fi. Ko-fi? I don't know how to say that. Ko-fi? Maybe Ko-fi.
Ko-fi.
Ko-fi? Okay, cool. Great.
And wear a mask.
And wear a mask. And stop harassing actors. Like, it's really not necessary.
Yes. Harass us. We need the attention. Come on.
Yes. Yeah, you guys can harass us. We can take it. We're tough. I've actually had the experience of receiving death threats before for something I've written, so it's okay. I gave The Legend of Zelda: Skyward Sword an 8.5 out of 10, and people wanted to kill me for that. So I know. I
don't know when to let them know that it was me. No, it wasn't me. That's a lie.
Yeah, no, I know it wasn't you. But yeah, no, just look, be good to yourselves out there. All right, use some common sense. And we want you guys to come back for more next week, because we're going to have another great show for you as the Millennium Falcon starts to take off there in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Thank you all for listening. This has been episode 64 of Geeks Who Like Sports. We will see you next time. For Lee, I'm Ray. Good night, everybody.